Hello and good morning to you. This is Cliff Graves from Train Well Boxing. I hope all you listening are well. Now, we've had quite a few comments coming back saying you like the audio. It's easier to listen to. You grab a coffee, sit back and relax. And that's what it's about. They're not meant to be right in your face, these presentations, but they are meant to help and encourage. So you might be thinking to yourself, where is the connection between Train Well Boxing and such a involved subject that we're going to talk about today? We here at Train Well Boxing, we cover every aspect of your life. Every aspect, from your spirituality to your mental state and health, to your physical health, and what I believe brings all this together, your health and wealth. Train Well Boxing is a name. I have extensive experience of the sport boxing, but Train Well Boxing is just a name. It's a name where we want to produce values for people, not become neo-cheaters, but produce values. So, enough said on that. Let's crack on into this highly controversial subject of where emotions come from. I think it just does warrant just a quick chat about evolution. Evolutionists, the scientists, have zero perception of how it all began, what the divine spark of life was. All they can say is, if there was nothingness, then there had to be somethingness. Now, they're very correct in that. In that point of nothingness having to be somethingness, it is outside of our remit to be able to grasp. We are talking about fourth dimensional stuff, which before time, matter, and space were even created, we have no perception of what that means. Is 1 second like 1,000 years that we know now? We have no perception because it is fourth dimensional stuff outside of our remit. And these natural scientists, I actually think science is brilliant. Forensic science catches all the bad guys, catches all the bad people. Fantastic. Medicine science, the discovery of penicillin, fantastic. But this natural science, where the scientists, the likes of Dawkins, John Atkins, and the other guy that presents something on the TV, He's so unassuming to me, I can't even remember his name. All evolutionists. But they can't answer us the simple question. What was the divine spark of life? They say, well, can you? I'm a Christian believer, a creationist, a Christian believer. Well, can you? Well, actually, yes, we can, because what we have in the Bible is in Genesis, and let me pick up my Bible and I will read you right from the first verse of Genesis. Just 1 second. These videos are always very unrehearsed and unscripted, right? In Genesis 1, verse 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's what we have. A Bible, a historical book, a historical account, right the way from Genesis 1:1, which I just read you, right the way through, and I will read you the last in Revelation. Just 1 second again. The last verse in Revelation 22:21. The grace of the Lord Jesus be with God's people. Amen. Right the way through the Bible, we have accounts, historical accounts, prophetic accounts, scientific accounts. It's all in there. Are you telling me every single word uttered in the Bible is false, lies, and deceit? Are you telling me that? Because I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. I have my English translated Bible, but you know, you'll get Hebraic, Russian, African, French. The Bible is the same today as it was in yesteryear. So answer me this before we get on to our main subject. Answer me this, evolutionists, scientists, historians. How do we know the Spanish Armada existed? I can remember being in the 3rd year of my senior school learning about that. How do we know that the Spanish Armada existed? How do we know that the War of the Roses existed? How do we know that King Harold was shot with an arrow through, I think it was his left eye, whilst he was on horseback? In that particular account, it was because of the Bayeux Tapestry. So who wrote the Bayeux Tapestry? Who designed the Bayeux Tapestry? Why do we believe in Henry VIII and all his wives? Why do we believe in all these historical events that we teach our children, and yet we cannot accept anything? Evolutionists cannot accept anything, quoted and written and recorded in the Bible. You see, my big question is, now that we have AI that has arrived, how do we know we are talking to a human being? How do we know when we engage in conversation on the telephone, we are talking to a human being? And what tests can we do to ascertain that we are speaking to an AI bot? Ask the AI bot or the person, human being that you are talking to, an emotional question. Something where the script has not been factored in. Ask any emotional question you like that will throw that AI bot off, because they cannot deal with emotion, because they are robots programmed. But where does emotion come from? Well, let's just analyze just for a minute the word emotion. And it's like one of these words, dinosaur. You won't see it in the Bible because they're recently made up words. Words like dinosaur, emotion, and the like are recently made up words. And emotion dates back to around about 1579 through the Middle Ages. And it was adapted from the French word émouvoir. Émouvoir. So you might think, so what? What's your point? What's your point? Emotions are a holistic integration of biological factors, psychological factors, and environmental factors, that they work together to create a subjective experience. Now look, when we look at biological and psychological, we're talking about aspects of the brain, and I don't know enough about the workings of the brain, so I'm not even going to go there. But the brain is the computer. The brain is the storehouse. The brain, the mind, the thoughts are learned experience. Just like the children in a history lesson before they take their mock history examination are going through the Spanish Armada. The teacher, the history teacher, is teaching all about the Spanish Armada, and to look out for questions in the mock history examination. The brain absorbs knowledge. The brain then, through thoughts, will transmute that into wisdom. So the biological and physiological is really the kind of like the physical, tangible receivement of thoughts. Take two children, two twins, two boys that are taken from their mother through whatever domestic reasons and adopted at the age of 3. They're separated. One kid goes from extreme poverty into extreme wealth. Another kid doesn't go into that. Now, I know this has happened, and I'm talking about a real life example. One kid I knew, he originally came from very, very tough, hard backgrounds in Liverpool. And he ended up in leafy suburbia in Surrey, where his father had a fantastic job. And at 21, he used to pick us up and take us out to nightclubs, driving in an Aston Martin, which of course was his dad's. Not sure what happened to the fate of his twin. One learns streetwise ways of the street, how to fight and how to survive on the street. The other is mollycoddled and goes off to private school and then boarding school, and then hasn't got no perception of what street life is like. They are learned experiences of emotion, of hate, of anger, of desperation, of happiness. That state of mind that each of those twins adopted, one of pleasantness, softness, kindness, gentleness, the other of pure survival, toughness, ruggedness, hardness, is learnt experiences. So could we not classify this as environmental experiences, rather opposed to genetic experiences, for the reasons that I've just given with the example of the two twins? It is true to say that humans possess a set of universal based emotions. But when you're looking at true spirituality, when you're looking for answers for what was the divine spark of life, this comes to the fore. Because you have to say, where did that emotion come from? How do we know, which of course it is, but how would we have known 5,000 years ago that it was wrong to murder? 5,000 years ago, here on the British Isles, for example, what did they do when another man took another man's life? Do we have Any record of how they were punished? Were they incarcerated for the rest of their life? Were they hung? What happened? Do we have any historical evidence which tells us what happened? You know, you can look at any emotion you like, the emotion of love. What is the emotion of love? Are we talking about erotic love or something different? Erotic love between two adult willing partners engaging is different to a granddad loving his granddaughter with everything in his heart, isn't it? Or love for one brother to another brother, or love for your pet dog. What is love? What is hate? These are all learned experiences, yes, but where have they emanated from? We looked at biological, physiological, environmental. But the brain is only a computer. It has to be programmed, just like these AI bots. They need to be programmed with the knowledge from a human being in the first place. So where has this word emovia that came about in 1579, where has it emanated from? When judging by your books, evolutionists, you say we've been here billions of years. So has emotion been around billions and billions of years? And if it hasn't, because it's a learned experience, what are you going on about? What are you going on about? What are you going on about? You cannot give any evidence of where emotion came from. How emotion came about. And this is so crucially important. So crucially important. Oh, the scientists will get aggressive. Oh, the scientists will try the war and peace bit to try and derail you. Hit you over the head with science. And it makes no sense. The question I'm asking is, where did emotion come from? And billions of years ago, if we had the emotion of hate, love, anger, aggression, when was the first murder recorded? What did they do to the murderer? Was it wrong to rape and pillage? When did raping and pillaging, which of course it's wrong, of course it's wrong, disgraceful, of course it's wrong, but when did that come in? Was that when the Vikings came over? Raping and pillaging? At what point did raping and pillaging become a crime, classified as a crime? Was it billions of years ago? Billions of years ago, which incidentally, the scientists can't even accurately gauge what 1 year is, other than adopting the Christian calendar of AC and BC. So how do they know what a 24-hour period is and a 7-day week is? How do they know? Oh, we go by the sun setting and this and that. Yeah, all right. So how do you know 30 days is a month? How do you know a year is 365 days in a year? Because they're basing it off the Christian calendar. It makes no sense in any way, shape, or form, because they cannot answer simple questions in one simple question. What was the divine spark of life? Not a war and peace effort. One simple question. What was the divine spark of life? Answer, clear, concise. They can't. Not they won't, they cannot. There's a difference between will not and cannot. And in this, they cannot. And if we were just pure flesh and blood, we'd be walking out in the road, getting knocked down by Arctic lorries and all sorts, walking off the side of buildings, mountains and all sorts. We'd be like the AI robots with no emotion whatsoever. So my second question is, where does emotion come from? I've told you it's a learned experience, but who is it learned from? Oh, our ancestors. Okay, so where did they learn it from? Oh, their ancestors. So where did they learn it from? Oh, their ancestors. So can we dial it right the way back? Billions and billions of alleged years? At what point did we start to record it is wrong to murder, it is wrong to steal, it is wrong to rape and pillage? When the scientist doesn't even believe in what's in the Bible, the Ten Commandments. They cherry pick. They don't believe in the Ten Commandments, but they believe in the Christian calendar of AC and DC. Do you see how hypocritical they are, these evolutionists? Most of them have made careers out of this and a lot of money, and are living lavishly with fantastic incomes. But they can't answer the simple questions. 2 simple questions are posed. And they can't. Not they won't. They can't. I'm just going to leave you with this. If we was pure flesh and blood, without a spirit, without a soul in us, we would have no emotion. Yes, it's true. From ashes to ashes, if we're cremated, dust to dust. We're burnt, our fleshy body goes, our bones are burnt. We're cremated. The Cliff Gray's physical body has gone. Do you think that's it? Do you really think that's it? Do you really, honestly believe that we're just flesh and blood? That we are devout of emotion? So ask yourselves those questions. If you are a serious inquirer, ask yourselves those questions. What was the divine spark of life? Just say it to it doesn't matter, John Atkins, Dawkins, whoever. Just say, well, can you in a clear and concise question? You're very, very much more learned and educated and academic than myself, so I can understand. Can you make a childlike, clear, concise question for me? Please, could you give me your opinions of what the divine spark of life was? And secondly, can you tell me where emotion commenced and how long ago that was? You'll get one or two responses: an aggressive response, a response that will create cackle and laughter amongst others listening in, or an attempt to create a war and peace, baffle you, hit you over the head with science answer. They will not, I'll tell you this now, they will not answer you in a childlike sentence that is clear, precise, and concise for all to understand. This is Cliff Graves from Train World Boxing. Have a great day. Ciao.